lights are off and away they
got
go.
extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He
very
missed
close.
the complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He sliced through, he tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYSim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway, home of Round 6 in the DIYSim.com Z4 Challenge. You're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm your host, Joe Peak. With me in the booth today are Richard Losper and Bill Zahn. Our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Kevin Brown. When it comes to Rovals, Daytona's road course is highly regarded by sports car enthusiasts all over. To tell us more about this circuit stats, let's go to Richard.
Hi there, Joe. Great to be here. And let's talk about Daytona. This is a track, of course, that needs no introduction to just about all of us sim racers. Myself, I must have done at least 500 laps or more around this track in various cars. But for those who don't know, it is 3.56 miles long. That's about 5.7 kilometers. The course as laid out today has 12 turns, and we're looking at a 45-minute race here. Now, Joe, this track, you come off the banking, which is used by the NASCAR guys, and you come into turn 1, which is a very, very high-speed corner. And then you go into 2 loops, really, sort of horseshoe-type loops, and then that throws you back out onto the oval again. So a fairly straightforward, even a simple course, dare I say, but one that is very challenging in that you cannot shake the guys who are around you very, very easily because of the draft. And we're going to see a lot of that here today. And I must say, I'm looking forward to see the battle between these fairly high-powered cars here.
Indeed, I have to imagine it's sort of round 2 compared to what we had a week ago at Road America with the draft coming into play as there as well. Let's talk about the championship real quick, though. And Bill, I have to say, it seems like Leandro Schmidt is finally making inroads.
Yep, he's put a little dent into Wyatt Gooden's lead. Gooden was up by 66 points. He had a blunder last week with a fuel miscalculation, and Schmidt's been able to about half that lead. In third place is Craig McKenzie. He had a streak of top 10s broken last week at Road America. In third is Kevin Vaughn. Now, Kevin's got a second, 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth in the series this year, but he's missed race 2, and unfortunately he's missing here today as well, so we won't see him. Well, probably going to see him certainly drop in the standings. And rounding out the top 5 is Joseph Anderson. A couple names not mentioned on there that are real close to 5th place that aren't on the chart there is Alex Bilal and Matt, melt in your hand, not in your mouth, Malone. They're real close to 5th place. For the guys who are new, the viewers who are new to the series, for the first 4 races, pretty much all the drivers have been like ducklings that have imprinted to Wyatt Gooden and just kind of followed him as Gooden was winning every race. But when Mother Goose had trouble with the fuel calculation on race 5, these guys have made a move on him now. So maybe today is the race that some of the little ducks lose their down, and maybe we'll see a couple swans in the brood. Back to you, Joe.
Going from M&M's to bird analogies. Sometimes you amaze me, Bill. But as we watch them finish qualifying out here, everybody on their own out on the track, let's jump to a lap guide and see what it's like on board around here. All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Daytona. You brake for turn 1 immediately after the start finish. It's a curved braking zone, transitions from banking to flat, and you're coming from the fastest part of the track to one of the slowest. How's that for a route introduction? Slip through this chicane flat out and then stay left to brake for the International Horseshoe. This is a potential passing zone, so be aware of your mirrors. You'll have a paved access road to the left, so you can use every bit of track to carry more speed off that exit. As we transition back right, the kink is going to be a flat-out blast, but you gotta get back to the left side very quickly and get set up for the Western Horseshoe. This is a really tricky apex to hit, and it's not uncommon to see cars slip wide. Now we get ready for 6, one of the most important corners on the track. This will dump you back onto the oval, so making sure your car is planted at the exit is going to determine how soon you can get on the loud pedal and carry your speed all the way around NASCAR 1 and 2. The good thing is, the steep Daytona banking means speeds are high, and picking up a draft is pretty easy. Stay within range, and you can ride the coattails of a faster car. If you've got the speed to clear the car ahead, do it. Otherwise, be wary of trying to outbrake them, because now you're going to spot your brake marker for the bus stop. It's very, very easy to blow any of these 4 apexes and get a cut course penalty. If you did it right, you're on the power before you've hit the 3rd apex. And it's going to be even more important than turn 6 that you get this right. Like I said at the start of the lap, this will lead you to the fastest part of the circuit. But like most rovals, you can expect a drafting game to play out, and cars are likely to attempt a last lap snipe. Your best hope is to push hard and break the draft before then. If you can, you really want to be the second car in line coming out of the bus stop. But that's a lap around Daytona. Welcome back. You may have noticed that lap was actually taking place during the night. They do run here under the lights sometimes, even on the road course, obviously, if you're familiar with the Rolex 24. But as you can see, that is not the case for these cars. There was a bit of confusion on that, and they are running in the daytime today. So we'll see who can adapt, since a lot of these guys have been practicing for night racing from what we understand. And speaking of which, Bill, what's the weather looking like? Because I think you noticed that it looks like might provide a bit of a challenge in itself.
Yeah, the VSRA uses iRacing's realistic weather settings, so that you never really know what the weather's going to be like till you come to practice. And it's not so...
I think we lost Bill for a second there.
I'm sorry, I'm back. It's not so much the random weather that throws the drivers off, but it's the gust and the wind. So today, while the first 5 races have been pretty mild, today, iRacing's Virtual Zeus has unsheathed the lightning bolt, and we have winds that are gusting up to 20 miles an hour today, so that really could be a problem for these guys.
So, once again, adaptation seems to be the name of the game for today. And I have to wonder, Richard, who is going to be racing smart today? Because with the draft that we keep mentioning, and that's a bit of a NASCAR style racing that some of these guys might not be used to, as far as, you know, having patience throughout the race, not constantly being on the charge to look to get ahead.
Well, that's true, Joe. You're gonna find, I guess, that the smart guys. Well, let's put it this way: there's no point in charging out and trying to lead the race from start to finish. That is just not going to happen unless you are extremely lucky and you manage to get a 2-second plus gap on the rest of the field straight away. So we are going to see a lot of drafting around the oval sections, and the guys who are going to be smart are going to try and get close to the front, I think, and just stay there. And as the laps wind down, they're going to try and make their move. You can't leave it too late as well. Sometimes that last lap dash does work, but you have to have the perfect lap if you're going to make that last lap work for you. But, the known fast guys around you, Leandro, Wyatt Gooden, Frank Phillips, Craig McKenzie, who's well up in the championship. These guys, I'll be watching to see how what sort of strategies they have for the race.
Now, one of the things we've seen a lot here, Bill, or at least in this series, seems to be that at least someone has some early trouble, and we seem to have a bit of a charger coming through almost every race. Last time it was Matthew the Thrill Thill who worked his way up through the field. We've seen Mark Zeidler do it. Do you think we're going to be able to see that today with the draft allowing guys to get up, or do you think it's going to be a little bit harder?
Yeah, Phil's actually done it a couple times. He did it early in the season as well. I hope not. I hope to see all these guys stay up to the front and have a good, nice, clean first race. I'm looking at the qualifying times right now, and it's interesting. Schmidt and Alex Bilbao, the two Brazilian drivers, are at the top of the charts. Wyatt Gooden's sitting in third place right now. There's still more time to qualify, but maybe not.
Well, they only have 4 laps by themselves out there, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on who's at what point. And I see that it looks like Hiro Kanaya, I think, is our last guy to complete his lap, and he's currently sitting in last on qualifying, actually about 2 seconds away from 25th right now. So in a second, I'm going to run through the qualifying once he completes his lap here. And actually, looks like he's not even going to complete it, as we can see him heading into the pits. So this should be it. Let's go through the qualifying order then, since I think everybody should be done from what I'm seeing. Yes. Up on pole, we've got Leandro Schmidt ahead of Alex Bilbao sitting in second. Wyatt Gooden, usually the fastest guy, sitting in third. And this is without draft, since they were all by themselves. This is interesting. Mark Zeidler sitting in fourth. Kyle Potts is in fifth. Frank Phillips is going to start sixth. João Oliveira is starting in seventh. Matthew Thill, eighth. Chris Dameron Jr. starting 9th, and then Scott Power is going to start 10th.
In 11th is Daniel Santos. 12th is Clint Myers. 13th is Mark Robinson, followed by Eminem, Matt Malone, Craig McKenzie in 15th. Donnie Leonard in 16th. In the 17th spot is Joseph Anderson. Behind him is Lee McGovern. One inside the top 20 is Lance Snyder, and rounding out the top 20 is John Kelly. Rich?
Yep, in 21st place, about 2 seconds off the pace of the leader, we have John LaBeouf. Then Ryan Spengler in 22nd. 23rd is Brian Shanahan. 24th, Bruce Poole. 25th, Christopher Thompson. And bringing up the final spot, which is number 26, is Hiro Kanaya. Joe?
Also, we had a few awards handed out as we do every race. Last time, hard charger of the race was João Oliveira, making up 14 spots to finish 9th. Incredible stuff. Lance Snyder also proved his racecraft with the lead lap clean and mean award. And then Logan Knapp captured the lucky dog. And those guys each get prizes. And I'm not sure if we have those stats on what all they each get. I'm sorry, I don't have it on hand. Apparently we do not, but they do get monetary prizes for that. So these guys are fighting for at least a little something other than just looking to prove themselves and be able to have bragging rights out there on the course. We've got just a few more seconds, then they're going to start gridding up, and we can start looking at this course maybe corner by corner and talking about a few more of the stories. I have to ask, now that we've seen the qualifying and things are just a little shaken up, Richard, even though you're a little bit green on this series, who's your call today as far as the winner?
Well, I guess it's hard to go past Wyatt Gooden. He's won all but one of the races. He is currently in third place, so we would be looking for him to have a win. But noticing that Leandro and Alex Bilbao have actually been faster than him in the qualifying, maybe that will change things up a little bit. One of the things that does make a big difference on this particular track, and we haven't spoken about it before, is the bus stop. Now, a lot of drivers get caught out there, and it is a great leveler. And so I'm looking to see how these very powerful cars negotiate the bus stop, because I think that's going to be quite critical in this race, John.
I don't doubt it. We were talking about that some before the broadcast, how we've seen time and time again the bus stop just bites different drivers, whether it's in a pass attempt or they're just simply pushing too hard. Also, a side note, those awards that I mentioned earlier are provided by DIYsim.com. Don't forget to go check them out. They are the official sponsor of this series, and we can't thank them enough for all their efforts to help put this thing on. So, Bill, since Richard kind of took the obvious pick, who's your call today?
Well, last week I picked Mark Zeidler, and he wasn't even in the race, so you can imagine how positively I think about him now that he is actually here today. So I'm going to stick with Mark to see if he can get a win for me.
Well, Mark's been able to do great things when he's been bumped down with problems. I remember at Mid-Ohio, he was charging back quite a bit. So I'm curious to see if he can hold it together and not to have some bad luck, if he can maybe be challenging, especially with that draft helping them along. Pace car does have the front of the field. You can see them all gritting up there in the tri-oval on your screen. And now I believe they're starting to take off. Or they should be any second now. The lights turned off on my stats there, although it doesn't look like they're taking off yet, so it's lying to me as we wait for them to take the green. Now we're rolling away, so we are getting going and taking a look at this. Now, Richard, you talked some about this first corner. This is such a difficult roval corner for these guys to be coming in. They're just entering so fast into here, and I expect this first lap is going to be very difficult, even though they're typically clean in this series.
Well, Joe, when you start a race at this track and you get ready to come into that first corner for the first time, basically, most people can do it very well when they're alone. But you think about 3 or 4 cars coming in, possibly 3 wide or 2 wide into this corner. It is the scariest thing. And look for these guys to be fairly cautious, hopefully, into that first corner on the first lap. And fingers crossed they all get through safely, because we do want to see a nice, good race. And we certainly hope that none of the top guys fall out early. Just want to quickly mention that Logan Knapp, who's quite a useful driver, did not put in a qualifying time, Joe, and he is in the very last position, 27th position right now.
Yeah, in fact, Logan had the 5th fastest time in qualifying, so Logan is probably going to be our hard charger. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose, or maybe he just could not get the laps in. We mentioned that bus stop. If cars pushed hard each time, and it basically, if you're not familiar with iRacing, if half of your car goes past the track boundaries, you are not allowed that lap. It is not scored in qualifying. So that could have been what happened to Logan Knapp, that he just didn't get a lap time in his 4 laps. It's not unheard of. And, we were talking about that first corner. Like I said, this series has impressed us before. I mean, in the very first race at Canada, that chicane into the hairpin, it usually produces some very volatile moments, and yet everybody made it through clean in the very first race of this series, where nobody was even all that familiar with each other necessarily. So you never know. Maybe these guys will impress us today and get out completely clean. Now they are heading toward that infamous bus stop, Bill. This one, I think, is going to be a whole different matter, especially if anybody gets greedy for some passes.
The bus stop's going to be maybe the key to the race here. I want to point out to the viewers, keep an eye on Wyatt Gooden. He's in that Sapphire and Ebony car. He's incredibly fast the first 500 yards of the race. Look for him to make a move to the lead before turn 1.
Well done. You got the colors right this time. I'm impressed, Bill. Yeah, so you can see the front couple of rows there on your screen, actually. Leandro Schmidt leading the way in the black and white. Alex Palau, confusingly enough, also in black and white, just a black and white front row. Mark Zeidler, don't count him out there, also in black and white up on the high side on row 2 as we come around NASCAR 4. Going to be some exciting racing coming out very soon, as the pace car should be pulling off as they get close to the pit entry here. Question is, who is going to be able to take it home today? Wyatt Gooden is not up on top. Is he going to be able to overcome that speed differential? Is he going to be able to use the draft and make it yet another win and bounce back from a week ago? We're going to find out very soon as the pace car peels off. Leandro Schmidt has control of the field. He takes off early enough to get the green flag. He gets a really good jump. So does Wyatt Gooden, though. He's already on the inside of Alex Palau coming to the first corner. Is he going to be able to outbreak him? Yes, he does so quite cleanly. In fact, Zeidler is looking on the inside of Palau as well. How is everything towards the back of the pack? I'm not seeing anybody making contact. All very clean, Richard, as they head towards the International Horseshoe.
Yes, sir. I was actually watching Logan Knapp, who was right at the rear of the field. He's already passed a couple of the guys in front of him. Christopher Thompson is now currently bringing up the rear. All very clean so far, Joe.
Yeah, it's looking pretty copacetic to me. Bill, have you noticed anything towards the back?
No, they're all clean, and I'm really impressed by these guys. Every week we get almost 30 cars running a clean first lap. Knock on wood.
Well, meanwhile, up front, Wyatt Gooden is wasting absolutely no time. Look at him already on the back of Leandro Schmidt, and they are heading onto the oval portion, Richard. Let's see if he makes a move early on.
Yeah, this is the exciting part when they get onto the oval for the first time. This is where they test their drafting skills, whether they can overtake the car in front of them cleanly, safely. And then, of course, this first part of the oval, you've got that terrifying bus stop waiting for you, where it's an extremely high-speed entry. You've got to slow the car down to a fairly slow speed to get through here. It's a left switch and then a right switch and back out onto the oval again for the race around to turn 1.
Well, interestingly, pulled out and slowed down on the last part of the oval portion, but this time he is not. He is on the outside of Alex Palau, already heading towards the start-finish line. It looks like Gooden is going to go from third to first as he crosses the line, but he's going to be able to hold on to it. He's on the outside. He is not quite able to. He gives up the ghost, and Schmidt is going to retake the lead. Meanwhile, just behind them, look at Mark Seidler. He is up in the action as well.
Absolutely. Mark Seidler, who is Bill's pick, is right up there. We have Wyatt Gooden now running in second place, and our leader is Leandro Schmidt. So Leandro qualified fastest, showing some good speed here early.
Palau is the guy who is losing out the most. He has gone from second to fourth and has Kyle Potts not far behind him. In fact, he's got a whole train of car. Frank Phillips is in there, Matthew Phil, and then Chris Damron Jr. and even more. So everybody is still a train, and it's probably going to be that way for quite a while with the draft really keeping the guys together. In fact, it looks like Palau is closing up on the back of Mark Seidler, and he's going to close up even more now that he's going to get the draft on the oval. In fact, let's see how far back we go before we finally get a break. It looks like we get a break between Damron Jr. and João Oliveira, so 8 cars in the top group. Sounds like something happened to Clint Myers. I'm not sure if we can go back and see what exactly happened there. Looks like he just got on the power a little too much, Bill, coming onto the oval. That's an easy mistake to make.
Just coming onto the banking. And, you know, these cars have traction control, but they don't have it turned on very much, so really your traction control is still going to be your right foot here.
Meantime, we've had a change for the lead as Wyatt Gooden has moved up top, and Leandro Schmidt had just a bit of a tap from Mark Seidler, but they both got a draft. They're going to go 3 wide through the tri-oval. It's still very early in the race. We're only finishing lap 2, and it looks like Schmidt is going to be up in the lead scoring at the top, but once again, just like before, he is on the outside, except switched roles. He's going to try the over-under. It looks like he's got a very good exit. He's going to be on the wrong side as they head towards the International Horseshoe, Richard.
Yeah, and this is very risky, high-risk racing right now, and we're only on lap 3. However, these guys obviously trust each other because they did go 2 wide into turn 1. Very scary, Leandro Schmidt and Wyatt Gooden. I want to be Mark Seidler right now because he's sitting in a place where he's just watching what's happening in front of him, and if these guys make one mistake, he's going to inherit the lead. But so far, they've managed to keep it clean, even though they're racing hard against each other.
And it seems like everybody is really kind of biding their time until they get to that final NASCAR 3 and 4, and then they really close up. We've seen twice now that everybody's just kind of waiting to get to that bus stop and then looking to get that good exit out of there. So there's a lot of guys racing really smart today, Bill.
Joe, this is the first race where I think the draft has really kept guys together. The reason I think it is that the twisty part of the section, the infield section, is not so technical where the really fast guys can break the draft. We're all the way back. It looks like we're all the way back to João Oliveira in 9th place, still hanging on to the draft.
Yeah, he seems like the last one of this top group, and then you've got a ways back to 10th with Daniel Santos, who's really holding his own, so we got to give him some credit. Maybe just a short bit of screen time. Not bad being in the top 10, especially in a series as talented as this. But once again, we have a lead change, I believe, as Leandro Schmidt is ahead of Wyatt Gooden. He's on the outside coming into turn 1. They're going to try it too wide once again. They get oh so close in the braking zone, and just a little bit of a touch as Wyatt Gooden holds on, and Leandro Schmidt has to back out of it, but he holds on to second. Meanwhile, Kyle Potts was looking on the inside of Alex Bilal, but he wasn't able to do anything out of it. And whoa, look at on the inside of Potts. Who is that? That is Frank Phillips, who just blows by him. Now Potts loses even more spots as Chris Damroy Jr. gets by him. He's going to be on the inside of the kink, and he's got Matthew Thill, who now backs out of it as, wow, Potts dropped, I think, was that 3 or 4 places?
Yeah, I think it was 3 places there. We
and we got some contact.
And Chris Damron in front of him.
There was contact between Potts, Phil, and Damron Jr. as they all came together in the Western Horseshoe, but I don't think they had too much damage. Nobody was spun out by it, so they're all continuing on. Meanwhile, let's go through these guys real quick because it's all getting shuffled up. Wyatt Gooden is leading. Mark Zeidler is sitting in second. Leandro Schmidt is in third. Alex Blau fourth. And then fifth, we have Frank Phillips.
Yeah, and Mark Zeidler has improved now. He's in second position, so he has taken that spot from Leandro Schmidt. Leandro's quieting down just a little bit as they come through the bus stop. Leandro now all over the back of Mark Zeidler, so look for a challenge here. Meanwhile, this is giving Wyatt Gooden an opportunity to get a little break on the field.
Yeah, I was going to say this is going to be critical for him. If he can continue to stretch it, it's going to be very tough, though. You can just see them closing in. Look at Zeidler in that black and white car, the white front, rolling up to the back of him. Now we are on board with Leandro Schmidt as they get up to the leader. Is Zeidler going to challenge? No, he's the first person we've seen to really back out of it. And meanwhile, Schmidt, whoa, Schmidt is starting to slide. Is he going to lose it?
Loses it, hits the wall, and manages to save it with just a touch on the wall, but losing multiple positions right now.
Credit to everybody behind him for just avoiding him, as now he's beside Phil. We are going to look at that replay. It looked like he could almost save it, but just tapped the inside wall. That could be dangerous, Bill, because he might have damaged some suspension, if he hit it at the right place.
You know, I don't know. I think George Padden would be happy with these cars because they are built like tanks, and I would not be surprised if Leandro Schmidt is not going to be able to just carry on.
Well, let's see if he's going to be today's unofficial hard charger since he didn't start far enough back, but he's definitely lost some positions from that half spin. Meanwhile, Wyatt Gooden did break away from Zeidler just a little bit. It wasn't enough last time for him to break that draft, but it's a long ways back to Alex Bilal. So the question is, can Zeidler be the one to try and close up on him and keep things in check, or can Gooden start to run away with it, Richard?
Yeah, look, just before we go, let's stick with Leandro Schmidt at the moment. Let's see how his car looks. He lost another position to Yao Oliveira right there, so I suspect he might just have a bit of damage on that car because he has slowed down quite significantly. He did get a hardish tap on the on left front of his car. Maybe he's just taking a lap or so to test the car out to feel if it's good. But he is a big loser right now out of position one.
He had a really bad exit out onto the bank section of the track, and he's not making up a lot of ground. Yeah, I think Richard may have called it here. He doesn't look sharp.
Well, meanwhile, Zeidler was able to reel in Gooden, but wasn't able to challenge, so he was just close enough to keep things in check. Just behind them, Alex Blau sitting in third, and Frank Phillips has a spin in the International Horseshoe.
Yes, he's off on the grass right now. He's gathered it up, and he's coming back on track, but again, he will have lost multiple positions as they all just pass him right now.
You can see he was under threat from Chris Damron Jr. I don't think there was contact from what we saw on the replay. So once again, it was that right foot traction control, as you called it, Bill, that put him out of contention. And he has dropped just a ton of spots as he is now sitting in what I believe is 13th behind Matt Malone. 12th, excuse me.
I want to take it away from... Go ahead, Rich.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'll go. I'm going to take it away from the front. I got a really interesting battle. If something happens up front, just take it back here, guys. Let's go back to last place with Lance Snyder and John Kelly. These two guys started in the pits. They've been swapping position for last about every lap. Kelly's in the in the let's see, one of them's in the pink car. Kelly's in the blue car, and Snyder's in the pink car. Let's give him a little shout. I have to pay a little tribute to the back markers there.
I'm wondering, are they swapping position on the oval portions, though? Because I have to imagine maybe they're just trying to work together, get that extra little bit of speed from the draft.
Yeah, they've just been doing it on the NASCAR section. I think one guy gets an extra 3 or 4 car lengths as they enter the track right now.
Well, let's jump back up to the front because Gooden still has Zeidler all over the back of him. And as I said, Blau is still in it. Damron Jr. is in 4th and not quite close enough right now, but the draft does seem to be keeping guys all close enough together. In fact, look at Damron Jr. and Potts. Potts was fairly close, took a little bit of a peek coming into the International Horseshoe, but couldn't quite make it happen. He seems to be hungry. Potts has been doing fairly good in recent races. I think he was one of those guys, Bill, that had a charge. I think it was at Spa, I want to say. But right now, he is holding down 5th place quite handily.
Yeah, and 5th place is within striking distance. I want to go back and talk about Leandro Schmidt here for a minute and make a comparison between him and Wyatt Gooden and even Kevin Vaughn. Gooden and Vaughn are very good at keeping their cars on the track. Leandro Schmidt has a horrible incident for mile rating. He only gets 8 miles per incident, which is really horrible compared to Wyatt Gooden, who gets 30 miles per incident. So I guess if you had a coloring book and crayons, you probably wouldn't want to give it to Leandro Schmidt because he's not good at keeping it between the lines.
Or maybe he'll accidentally break him from pressing too hard. You never know. So, but as we watch, we are now at, let's see, we've got 32 minutes left to go. So we are getting very close to the pit strategy in here. Now, this is going to be very interesting as we watch Zeidler come up all the way to the back of Gooden and lets off the gas, not wanting to challenge into turn 1. He knows that this is a patience game. Zeidler racing very smart right now as they've got the top 3 with Alex Blau closing up. But I was going to say, Richard, these guys are going to want to have a partner, I have to imagine, when they hop into the pits.
Yeah, look, just let me make a quick comment on the guys up front here. I'm noticing that Wyatt Gooden is very good through the infield, gets a small break on Mark Zeidler and Alex Blau. Alex Blau struggling a little to keep up with the top 2 when they go through the infield. But then, of course, when they get onto the oval with the draft, it all closes back up. But getting back to your point on coming into the pit strategy and getting a partner, yes, if you expect this is like NASCAR racing, of course, being most of the oval being used here. So you do want somebody to draft with, otherwise you can get dropped like a stone.
And let me jump in on pit strategy here. What's interesting is the leaders can't come in early because if Gooden or Zeidler come in now, they're certainly, if they come in 2 or 3 laps early to their competitors, they're certainly going to get stuck behind slower cars. And those slower cars are not going to be seeing the blue flag. I mean, Gooden's going to come in, maybe yield in behind Logan Knapp or Brian Shanahan back in 20th place. Well, Shanahan's not going to see a blue flag because it's going to be a battle for position, so they don't get out of the way. So these lead lap cars, the guys in front, as we see Zeidler making a move on Gooden to the outside, the front runners have to stay out. They can't come in early.
Yeah, Zeidler moves himself into the lead, fully clear. He had a good run last time by, and it looks like Gooden is not going to challenge him into 1. He decides to hold back. I guess he knows that he's going to be able to get it back if he really wants to at some point. I know we were watching another battle on our screen a little bit earlier. I didn't quite catch who that was, though. But I believe that was Anderson and Spangler that were fighting it out, but obviously we need to move to the front if there is a battle for the lead. I've been kind of half watching Damron Jr. and Potts still, as they've been very close, and Damron, interestingly, went defensive into the bus stop last time, so I guess he feels like he's not entirely safe as far as these guys. Whoa, and look at Blau go very wide into the Western Horseshoe, and this allows Damron to get right up on his bumper.
Yeah, just watch that. Alex Blau doing a good job in keeping touch with these guys. Don't read too much into the fact that Wyatt Gooden is now in 2nd place. I think you'll see there'll be lots of swapping of 1 and 2. before the end of this race because of the immense draft at this course. Very exciting to actually run on this course behind somebody and catch him and actually try and pass him, as we see Gooden passing Zeidler into the bus stop. He has really got some really good skills on the infield and through the bus stop there. But like I say, there's going to be lots of passing between a whole bunch of drivers on the oval, as we see Mark going wide and taking the position again. So this is what we're going to be constantly watching, Joe.
I wonder if they're trying to use that draft to really, like I said before, those guys in last place, really just get that extra little bit of speed and start to break away, because they've got more cars coming up behind them. In fact, we saw a swap for positions on screen as actually Gooden is going around the inside of Zeidler in turn 1, and he is going to be able to have it fully, but Zeidler is going to look to come back coming into the International Horseshoe. No, he's not. He slots back into place, and it's back line astern for these top 5. I was going to say there was a swap for position as Kyle Potts was able to get by Chris Damron Jr., and that was all kicked off when Damron had a huge amount of wheel spin coming onto the oval after getting tucked up behind Alex Billau, and Kyle Potts goes very deep into the Western Horseshoe, off into the grass, and that could be that for him trying to hold on to these top guys. Wow, just incredible heads up from Alex Billau, Bill, to be able to see that coming and get out of the way.
Absolutely. As they keep swapping position up front, I think it's important to mention that Leandro Schmidt has knocked a second off his distance from the lead. He's now 4.5 back. He was 5.5 back a few laps ago. So I think Schmidt might have the legs to get back up with those guys.
And Damron
Well, let me
Jr.
jump
actually
in here
got
real
past.
quick,
Oh, go
Joe.
ahead.
Sorry. Leandro Schmidt actually, with that accident, that near accident with Chris Damron, Leandro is now within drafting distance of Chris Damron, and that's going to stand him in good stead in his struggle to get back up to the front.
In fact, that I think it's Kyle Potts that he is trying to get close enough to. It looks like he might be able to just get a whiff of it, but he's going to have to push to catch up to Potts. And Potts is unfortunately out of range of these top 4 now, it looks like, which is Alex Billau, Chris Damron Jr., Mark Zeidler, and Wyatt Gooden. And interestingly, I thought I saw that Zeidler was actually pushing Gooden across the start-finish line, unless they were just extremely close. But meanwhile, we're looking at a different battle on screen. This is between Malone, Leonard, and McKenzie. So that is between... Whoa, a lot of chaos going on between these guys. As you see McKenzie come up on the back of Malone in turn 1. Up at the top, it's Frank Phillips. He is sitting in 9th. It's Malone in 10th, and then McKenzie in 11th, and Leonard behind them in 12th as these guys battle for the end of the top 10.
Yeah, we've got Frank Phillips leading this little pack. And then behind him, there's Matt Malone and Craig McKenzie and Donnie Leonard in there. So 4-car battle here for what is the 11th, starting with 9th position. So a good little battle going on here in the mid-pack, but we'll see how it all pans out.
McKenzie has made a living out of consistency. He only has one top 5, but he has 4 top 10s. He's been in the top 15 every race, and he's running 12th right now. That's how he's making his. What would he make? That's how he's making his money. Okay.
Oh, little bits of money, I suppose, one at a time. Meanwhile, we are still watching Malone try to hunt down Phillips as they head towards the braking zone of the bus stop. He takes a look on the inside. Is this going to end in tears? He decides to back out of it, and they are back line astern once again. McKenzie is still behind Malone, trying to look for an opportunity, and the draft is going to come back into play once again, and it's going to be a game of who breaks latest into turn 1.
And, we've got a new guy behind them in 3rd place now. That's Chris Damron. These guys don't mind going too wide into turn 1, which is a credit to their trust of each other as drivers and, of course, their abilities as well. But now Chris Damron Jr. is right on the back of Mark Zeidler, and he's joined this little freight train.
That was actually Gooden on the outside of the International Horseshoe trying to hold off Mark Zeidler, and it was Damron Jr. sitting in 3rd, trying to watch and see what's going to happen. It could end in tears at any point. That's the interesting thing out of all of this. if you're someone like Alex Palau right now who's sitting at the back of this train, as we see Dameron go completely off, and that's just what I was going to say. All it takes is a mistake, and you can grab yet another position. But unfortunately for Palau, he just wasn't close enough, and now he gets held up, and they start to lose touch. But I think the draft is going to pull him in once again.
Well, Joe, that's a very interesting thing just happened there. We saw Chris Dameron put a couple of wheels off on the inside, that's the left side of his car, and I actually saw some damage appear on his car. There appeared to be a dent on his left side, so I wonder if he did get some suspension damage there, because iRacing certainly has made a change to his car.
Well, we saw Zeidler and Gooden swap positions for first yet again before they headed into the chicane. Now they're side by side around the corner. Nobody's getting a draft. This means behind them, Chris Dameron Jr. is getting a double whammy, as now you can see them spreading out, making sure to give each other as much room as possible. It's still just Zeidler by inches as they come across the line. We've still got quite a bit of race yet to go, although all of these guys have yet to make their stop. And look at Palau going really deep and really wide into the corner, but comes back to the apex and gets right up to this front pack, and it is all on yet again. Still, Zeidler up front, Gooden in second, Chris Dameron Jr. in third, and Alex Palau in fourth.
Phil
And
has
fifth place has now back, Leandro Schmidt is back up to fifth place, so he has made a terrific comeback. He's actually got by Carl Potts, and he's got his eye now on Alex Palau, who may be still in fourth place. I'm not quite sure. But I'm watching Leandro Schmidt just cut these guys' lead down lap by lap, Joe.
We have about 23 minutes left to go on the clock, so they've still got about 8 more minutes to make their stop. These guys can usually go just about a half an hour on their fuel tanks, and then they pretty much have to come in. And Wyatt Gooden, Bill, knows that best of all these people, just where the limit is.
Well, as I mentioned before, you got to cut him some slack. He can't come in earlier. He gets stuck behind traffic. The pit stops have started, though, as Matthew Thill is really the leader of the guys who have made their stops. Thill, Phillips, and Power have all been in. I think Leonard has been in as well. Thill is 47 seconds behind the leader, so that gives you an idea of how much time he lost.
So meanwhile, up front, we see them going too wide once again. Gooden on the outside, Zeidler on the inside. Gooden had the draft, so he's going to be able to slingshot. Is Zeidler going to let him go, or is he going to defend this time? That's the question. It looks like Gooden is clear. Just about chops him off. It's oh so close. And look at Dameron Jr. getting up in the mix, going very low on the apron. And they all break in time for turn one. Nobody seems to be sliding off, and just behind them, Palau still sitting in fourth, holding on. Schmidt doesn't seem to be making too much inroads on them. He is also not too far behind, but he doesn't seem to be close enough to make that draft work.
4.3 seconds, so he's knocked off another 0.2, but he has gotten around Potts, so he's getting there.
Slowly but surely trying to make headway. So Richard, it seems like nobody is really willing to sit on their haunches and let everybody else lead, as the front just keeps swapping back and forth. Everybody just wants to be up front, and there's no caution, Richard, for them to worry about. So this is just straight up either impatience, or they think maybe they're able to go faster with the slingshot.
Yeah, look, I've been watching this very, very carefully. They've been running side by side into turn one so often. It's become par for the course, really, and that is a very high risk racing. But at the same time, they are testing each other out. Look, when we get down to the final laps, if these guys don't get broken up during the pit stops, Joe, we are going to see a frantic finish. Now, you got the top three very, very close to each other, although Wyatt has got just a little break. That will disappear as Zeidler will catch him on the oval. And behind them, we've got Alex Palau in fourth place. So this is the way it's going to be to the end of the car, although with the pit stops coming very, very soon, this might change a little bit. As we see on the outside, we've got Chris Dameron trying a move on the outside, Joe. Very high risk. Zeidler not allowing him enough room, but now he will have,
and they contact.
touch, Joe. This is dangerous. They're both off, Zeidler and Chris Dameron Jr. off, and this is what can happen when you go too wide into turn one.
And it was the chicane that bit them. This has promoted Alex Palau. In a second, we're going to watch that replay. They just didn't give quite enough room. That chicane just kind of narrows up out of that wide first corner, and you can see Dameron Jr. able to continue on. However, Zeidler slid pretty far across the grass. I'm not sure how long it took him. Oh my goodness, he went all the way across to the other track on the other side of the hairpin there.
He almost collected Gooden on the other side of the track.
But he's able to get going, and he has a long ways down, and that is going to be the end of his chances to win this race. So now it looks like it might be down to Gooden and Palau.
Well, yes, sad to see that happen, but it was always on the cards. Now, we have been seeing Wyatt Gooden and Mark Zeidler going side by side into turn one on numerous occasions, but they obviously knew each other quite well. They did it on so many occasions that they knew what they could and couldn't do. All of a sudden, Chris Dameron Jr. decided to try his hand. He went wide into turn one, always not a good sign when trying to make an overtaking maneuver from the outside. And that was always going to end in tears, unfortunately, as we see Wyatt Gooden coming into the pits now, Joe.
And crucially, he had just about broken the draft. Whoa, and Alex Palau almost doesn't get slowed down as he comes into the pits, going nearly sideways. Behind him also we have Kyle Potts and João Oliveira. These are some of the top guys that are heading in. And it looks like, well, interesting. Oh, I thought it was Alex Palau. I'm sorry. That must have been Leandro Schmidt, actually. I called that wrong. My apologies. As Schmidt pulls up to his first stall. He was the one that nearly lost it coming in. So Wyatt Gooden came in, but Alex Palau did not. So this will be interesting to see if either one of them can make time and maybe get away from one another.
Palau's been able to run longer. He did it the same thing at Road America as well. He seems to have the lightest foot of all the drivers.
He also was behind a number of cars for quite a few laps, so he was getting a huge hole being punched in the air. So to imagine he might have saved just a little bit more fuel that way as well. As Wyatt Gooden is now back onto the track, Palau continuing on around NASCAR 2 right now, it looks like. So we'll have to wait and see if he comes in this lap or not. But Wyatt Gooden is essentially all by himself on the track. It's a ways back to João Oliveira, and then off in front of him, obviously, the next guy who I believe hasn't pitted. Or no, he's actually a lap down, so there's no one except for Alex Palau ahead of Wyatt Gooden at the moment. So essentially, these guys have clear track. This is all down to whether they can rifle off some fast laps as Alex Palau heads around NASCAR 3. Is he going to come in this time or not?
Got to come in this time.
Well, let's just say that Leandro Schmidt is a big winner here. He's now back in theoretically second place once Alex Palau pits. Wyatt Gooden will get first place back, no doubt, once Alex Palau pits. Just the question is of when. So everything's turned around again, and Mark Zeidler and Chris Dameron have slotted back down. They will be coming out and fighting hard for position once again, but Wyatt Gooden now seems to have a break.
And Palau is in the pits.
Exactly. Gooden is now coming back back past pit entry. That's a hard one to get out, apparently. And Palau is still sitting in his stall. Look at that. Clear past Alex Palau.
Come on, Alex.
Gooden is going to just absolutely jump in by a large margin. This could be exactly what Gooden needs to try and get this win and get away from everybody cleanly.
Yeah, Alex Palau just coming out of the pits right now. Where the question is, where is Leandro Schmidt? So Leandro Schmidt still well down on, yeah, no, this is not happening just now. So Wyatt Gooden, big winner out of all of that.
And another, Leandro Schmidt is sitting in 8th right now. I was going to say another possible winner is Kyle Potts, sitting in 3rd right now, and I'm pretty sure he's pitted. Yes, he pitted with that group that we saw, and so is João Oliveira. So Kyle Potts moved up to a podium position, looking very handy at the moment if he can hold off João Oliveira.
Yeah, Schmidt had a horrible pit stop because Potts and Schmidt were running that close together. Schmidt lost a handful of positions.
I think maybe Schmidt must have gotten a speeding in the pits penalty if he had a long stop, because he was the one that was wiggling as he entered, just coming in just a little too hot.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Or he could have potentially had his damage fixed, as we're hearing some information on. So, let's go through the order as it stands. Wyatt Gooden sitting in first. Alex Bilal is in second. Kyle Potts moved himself up into third after qualifying fifth. João Oliveira is in fourth after qualifying seventh, so he's jumped a number as well. And then Matthew Thill is sitting in fifth. So those are our top five right now, Bill, now that things have finally cooled down just a little bit.
And let's go ahead and take a little farther. We have a nice battle. Let's go back to sixth with Frank Phillips, followed right behind, and I'm going to get this color right. It's orange. I know Matt Malone's in that orange car. And right behind him is Leandro Schmidt in eighth. And then Mark Zeidler, after he took a long spin through the park, is running in ninth. And is that Donnie Leonard behind there? No, Donnie Leonard's way back. So a nice battle there, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th between those guys.
You must be taking notes, Bill. You're doing pretty good today. Yeah, it looks like Frank Phillips followed very closely by Matt Malone as they come through turn one. Malone closed up very well under braking, probably helped by the draft, so it looks like he's going to keep him under threat as now they head into the Western Horseshoe. Not close enough to make anything of it. Look at Malone really taking a nice wide entry to really chop off the apex of that corner and get a nice little stretch as he leaves Malone in the dust.
Well, guys, I must comment on the fact here that Wyatt Gooden, unless something drastic happens, has got this thing sewn up today. He's got a 6.8 second lead on the second place of Alex Bilal. So in that pit stops and with the accident that happened between Zeidler and Chris Damron, he has just sealed the deal here today.
Oh, we must have had a mistake from Matt Malone somewhere because he's lost another position. What happened? It looks like he went deep coming into the Western Horseshoe, and that has gifted another spot to Leandro Schmidt, who has been trying ever since very early on to work his way back up, and I think we're looking at a replay. Nope. So we're back live actually now, and we're looking at Malone as he heads through the bus stop chicane and coming back onto the oval. So it looks
Joe,
like...
let me just jump in there, Joe. Zeidler just blew by Matt Malone just on the entry to the bus stop there, so he's lost just another position.
Things are not going Malone's way right now, that's for sure, but he's going to get that draft, and he's going to come up on the back of that black and white car of Zeidler, heading towards the start-finish line and into the braking zone of turn one. Is Malone going to try and get it back? Just not close enough to try and make it happen. Taking a nice wide entry on into turn one and seeing if they can close up on to Leandro Schmidt and Frank Phillips, currently sitting in 6th and 7th. So these guys are looking at the latter half of the top 10 that they're fighting for right now.
Yeah, you got Schmidt and Zeidler fighting up there, and those guys were both near the front when the race started, so they've kind of just filtered their way together again.
And we were looking at a battle between Joseph Anderson and John Kelly. That was for 13th and 14th. John Kelly completely disregarded the apex of turn one, lost a whole lot of time. He's closing up a little bit in the International Horseshoe, but just not close enough right now. I'm sure as soon as they get back onto the oval, that draft is going to come back into play. So let's jump over. We're now looking at Scott Power, who is currently fighting the green and black car of, I believe that is Craig McKenzie.
Yeah, and we've got a nice little battle going on here. It's been going on for a little while, but Scott Power, well, we haven't mentioned really in the broadcast just yet, sitting behind Craig McKenzie. Craig gets a break coming onto the oval. He had a good exit there coming onto the oval. That will unfortunately be cut away by Scott Power on the first part of the oval. Now, it remains to be seen how they handle the bus stop. If Craig gets a really, really good, as we see Scott closing up, but then he has to brake, and that's going to hurt him on exit of the... No, he does a fantastic job of keeping the power on coming out of the bus stop. So now he's right on the back of Craig McKenzie. Craig McKenzie hugs the yellow line, not giving him an opportunity to pass on the inside. If you want to go around me, go around the outside, but Craig goes a little high now, which... is very interesting. I would have stayed low. He does gather it up and come back in again. Really nice little battle going on here, even though we are talking about position 12 and 11.
I actually thought I heard them get on the radio. I thought Scott told him that he wasn't going to challenge and that they were just going to try and hook up and help each other there. So that explains why he went high. He knew he wasn't going to be able to, or at least he trusted him enough not to try and dive down the inside of him. And he pushed him along just a little bit there on the tri-oval portion. So Craig McKenzie still sitting in 11th with Scott Power behind him in 12th. Yeah, Scott just looked phenomenal under the brakes for the bus stop chicane there. He just took a whole lot of time out of Craig McKenzie's car.
When you get a chance, let's go back up to the Schmidt, Phillips, Zeidler, Malone battle. These guys they're back at it again. Schmidt's got in front of them, but these guys, Schmidt and Phillips went side by side for probably half a lap. As we see Zeidler making a move. We're going to go 3 wide here as Zeidler's got to run. No, Zeidler thinks better of it. And meanwhile, Phillips in the blue car goes to the outside, and Schmidt is going to have a good entry into the bus stop, and then it looks like they're all going to make it through, okay?
Ooh, it was a very hairy moment there, as I think someone actually took a little bit of a cone out somewhere along there. And this really hurt Zeidler because Frank Phillips held him up enormously with that compromised entry, and he's going to try and push him along, actually, as now Malone moves to the outside and tries to take them both. Doesn't quite have enough. Look at Zeidler absolutely on the bumper and trying to push him forward. He is going to work together, try and pull in Leandro Schmidt back and get up to that 6th position.
Joe, I think he was pushing him.
Yeah, he definitely was just hauling along, pulling some NASCAR tactics, and they are right up on the back of Schmidt now. So that worked quite well, although Phillips has a very bad exit. Now they're going to go side by side. Zeidler did this before. This time it works. He's going to be on the outside of the International Horseshoe, tries to go around Phillips, can't quite make it happen. Malone looks to the inside of Zeidler and doesn't have the exit. So now it's back line astern as they head through the kink.
Yeah, that was high-risk maneuvering going into the International Horseshoe there. They made it work for them. We've got a 4-car battle here with the last one in the train being Matt Malone. We see Frank Phillips trying the outside, trying the inside. Is that Leandro Schmidt in front of him? Yes, it is. Then we've got Zeidler and Malone testing each other out. As we see one of them, that was Frank Phillips. He went down on the apron, didn't get a good exit there, so he is now fair game for Zeidler, but he manages to hold it together. Zeidler on the outside, and on the inside, Frank Phillips, he's got a good line into the bus stop. If he can make it stick, they're too wide going into the bus stop. Very risky. Frank Phillips backs out there. Zeidler went in pretty hot there, and Frank Phillips even hotter. They come out, and the big winner, Matt Malone, out of all of that.
As all that was starting to lead up, if I was Malone, I was just thinking, I am going to hold back just a little bit because I don't want to be a part of this. Both Phillips and Zeidler got cut course penalties, I'm pretty sure of that, because both of them definitely took a big chunk out of the apexes on that bus stop chicane. So that means Malone has now moved himself, I believe, up into 7th. Yes, now it's updated.
And all that nonsense in the back has meant that Schmidt has just broken the draft, and now he has clear sailing. Next on his list is Matthew the Thrill Phil.
And the Thrill has got quite a bit of gap. In fact, it looks like about 3 seconds between himself and Schmidt. So I think Schmidt's going to have to really push to try and catch up to there. We have about 6 minutes left to go. So Wyatt Gooden still up in the lead by a whole 8.5 seconds. Alex Bilbao is sitting in 2nd. Kyle Potts has 3rd, but only just, as João Oliveira is sitting behind him in 4th. And then Matthew Thill, as we said, is sitting in 5th.
Yeah, Potts and Oliveira are really close.
Sorry, Bill, battle between João Oliveira and Carl Potts is starting to get hot and heavy. At the moment, João coming up on the back of Carl Potts, going towards the bus stop. He elects to take the outside, or rather Carl Potts elects to hug the inside. He passes him, then backs out immediately, not wanting to go too wide into the chicane, and that's a wise move. He'll have another opportunity as they come towards turn 1 once again, but certainly the lap's running down. We are on lap number 22. He now closes up on Potts, goes to the outside once again. There's no other way. Carl Potts will not give him the inside. He does get by now, Joe, so what's going to happen in turn 1? Very risky. They are side by side right now.
And João is just clear, but not clear enough as he tries to outbrake him. And look at that incredible control from Kyle Potts. car wiggling around under braking on the inside, still side by side coming through the chicane, and whoa, huge bobble from Joe Oliveira, who just holds onto it and has to drop back.
Joe and Richard,
Yeah.
let me ask a question. Do you think these guys are picking up incident points on the exit of the bus stop there? Because they're cutting the grass almost every time. Does iRacing give them an instant point?
I
Yes,
believe it
you
does.
do get incident points for cutting the grass. You can take a little bit of the grass on the exit on the left-hand side. There you can take a bit of grass and you won't get an incident point. In fact, you can take quite a bit. But where you will get an incident point is if you cut in too close in the middle of the bus stop.
Oh,
You will get an
I'm sorry to
incident point.
cut in, but we've got a huge battle going on between Frank Phillips and Mark Seidler, and they actually made door-to-door contact through the Western Horseshoe, both continuing on. In fact, it's a three-car battle because Matt Malone is in it as well, as these guys have not given up since those earlier cut course penalties. I'm sorry, Richard.
Not a problem, Joe. Obviously, Matt Malone lost out to these guys because he was ahead of the two of them. And now they go too wide again. Zeidler on the outside, Frank Phillips on the inside, Matt Malone closing. They go too wide into the bus stop. Frank Phillips gets away with it there. Zeidler closing up Matt Malone right there as well. So this is a fierce battle as the laps run out.
Obviously, these guys have not learned their lessons as far as the bus stop goes. Nobody's willing to give an inch, and they keep losing time with that. In fact, just behind them, I'm sorry, not just behind them, I was going to say Donnie Leonard could be closing in, but he is a long ways back from these guys. Although, is that Frank Phillips behind? No, Frank Phillips is at the top of this group. So as Zeidler pulls up to the back of him and starts to stop, decides not to try and challenge into turn one. Although Matt Malone takes a look around the outside, that's a very dangerous move. They go side by side between him and Zeidler. Zeidler is able to hold him off as they head through the chicane. And now they are back 1, 2, 3 in order from 7th, 8th, and 9th between these three cars.
And checking in with João Oliveira and Carl Potts. Looks as if Carl Potts has successfully held off João Oliveira through the infield. We will see what happens. No doubt João will close back up again as they come onto the oval. He gets a reasonable exit from the oval, but then he has a bobble and he's lost touch now with Carl Potts. That could be all Carl Potts needs to seal up that third position, Joe.
Absolutely. Bill, I think that's been the difference today, really, that I've seen a number of cars just get on the power too early coming onto the oval and get that wheel spin and have just huge bobbles, and it's let a number of drivers down as far as potential positions.
It kills your momentum down the street. We really have three battles that we need to keep an eye on. It's Potts and Oliveira for third, and I'm telling you, Leandro Schmidt has Matthew Thill in his sights. He's very close to getting him. That's going to be for fifth. And then we have the chaos going on for 7th, 8th, and 9th back there between Phillips, Zeidler, and Malone. I'm telling you, Mark Zeidler, if he's in a race, just put your camera on him because he is Mr. Excitement.
Yeah. Well, as right now we're looking at Mark Zeidler as we were for a second. Now we're looking at Scott Power battling with Craig McKenzie as it looks like they're doing exactly what they were doing before, just pushing both of those cars around, trying to catch up to Donnie Leonard, who just is a little ways up the road.
Guys, you want to be on this battle with Matt Malone and Frank Phillips right now. These guys, Frank Phillips, I like the way he goes into turn one. He makes sure he's on the inside. Matt Malone has tried a couple of times on the outside. Can't make it work from there, Matt. You've got to try and get that inside position. And then, of course, Phillips is set up for the trip through the infield. However, Matt Malone has not given up. He'll close up once again as they come onto the oval. But a very, very hard battle going on here for what is, in fact, the 7th place.
And guys, I'm going to jump in here. There's, you got to love a roval because there's action everywhere. Matthew Thrill has been able to chase down João Oliveira for 4th place. So we have a nice 4-way battle between Potts, Oliveira, Thrill, and Schmidt.
So all still to play for some of the top 5 positions between these guys, obviously, as we watch Thill work his way through the bus stop chicane, trying to make up just a little bit more time on João. And I think you're right. You called it right. That we've got actually 10 seconds left. And where is Wyatt Gooden? He should be on the white flag now. as this should be our final lap. Yes, we've got the white flag. So Wyatt Gooden is going to do his last lap around. He's got 11 seconds on Alex Bilbao. So unless there's a mistake from Gooden, I think this one is wrapped up.
Yes, indeed. You know, when they came out of the pits after the pit stops, sorry, we're getting some shouting happening from our director. What are you on about, director?
Malone is in the pits. He must have short pitted.
Oh, so that's got to hurt after having such an intense battle for some of those, I believe that was 7th, 8th, and 9th position that he was with Phillips and Zeidler. Those two are still on it. Where is Gooden? He is coming onto the oval, so he's still got a way to go. We have some time to watch this battle between Zeidler and Phillips for that 7th spot still.
Yeah, and just quickly, Wyatt Gooden has extended his lead from 6 seconds after the pit stops to 11 seconds. So he's proven once again that he is the fast guy. Back to you.
Actually, we're watching John Kelly and Joseph Anderson. This is for 13th and 14th. I'm sorry, I called that a little wrong earlier. And we're watching Kelly as he is trying to hunt down Anderson in that orange and white car now coming into the Western Horseshoe. Very tight entry for Anderson. That's really going to hurt his exit. And just ahead of them, they've actually got Scott Power, who has dropped back from Craig McKenzie, it looks. Oh, no, he's well ahead of Craig McKenzie. So Craig McKenzie must have dropped.
Finish.
Gooden is about to finish, so let's jump to our leader, who takes yet another win in this series in race 6 as he crosses the line. Alex Bilbao just coming and going to take second with Kyle Potts nowhere to be seen. So that's going to be our podium. Wyatt Gooden, Alex Bilbao now taking second, crossing the line now, and Kyle Potts a little ways back, just coming across the line as we speak. So that's our podium. What's it looking like further down the line? We need to find some of these interesting battles.
Phillips and Zeidler for 7th, coming to the line. It looks like Zeidler's going to get him on the outside in the black and white car.
He's just ahead of him and just snipes him as it looks like Zeidler's going to take 7th with Phillips in 8th. Malone is a ways down. Where is Donnie Leonard? Donnie Leonard is going to be able to take with that mistake from Malone. Donnie Leonard is going to come across the line in 9th. And it sounds like between Anderson and Power, we had quite a battle going on. I didn't quite see who finished ahead. It looks like Joseph Anderson just sniped him.
Yeah, a lot of sniping happened coming to the line there, obviously with the draft, and we saw a swap of positions. The best one probably being that of Zeidler on Frank Phillips. Frank Phillips had the better of him for quite a while, but in that last lap, Zeidler prevailed. So finishing up on the rest of the guys now.
Yeah, I believe everybody is wrapped up. Brian Shanahan is the last car on track, so there's no one that he can beat to the line. We apologize for missing some of those battles. There's just so much to catch at the end. We are going to go to break, and we're going to come back with some driver interviews and read you the unofficial standings, so don't go away.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim-building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYSim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.
Welcome back after round 6 in the VSRA, DIYSim.com Z4 Challenge. Wyatt Gooden took it home with another win. Alex Bilal came home in second. Kyle Potts came in third. João Oliveira finished fourth. Matthew Thill was fifth. Leandro Schmidt came in sixth. Mark Zeidler finished in seventh. Then in eighth, it was Frank Phillips. Ninth was Donnie Leonard. And then finally, Joseph Anderson finished in 10th, Bill.
Scott Power in the lucky number 11 spot. John Kelly in 12th. John was one of the guys we looked at earlier in the race that started from the pits, was in that battle for last, got up to 12th. Nice job, John Kelly. Eminem, Matt Malone in 13th. Daniel Santos in 14th, followed by John LaBeouf. Craig McKenzie, 16th. He breaks his top 15 streak. Bruce Poole in 17th, followed by Lance Snyder. 19th is Brian Shanahan, and the top 20 is rounded up by Christopher Thompson. Rich?
And other finishers were in 21st place, Hiro Kanaya. 22nd place, 4 laps down, Mark Robertson, I should say. And then in 23rd, Lee McGovern, 10 laps down. In 24th place, Chris Damron Jr., 12 laps down. 25th place, Ryan Spengler, 12 laps down. And in 26th place, Logan Knapp, 19 laps down. Very short race for him. And finally, in 27th place, Clint Myers.
Well, we have some interviews to do. First up, we have Wyatt Gooden, and I believe Bill Zahn is going to ask him a few questions.
Hi, Wyatt. Do you have me? Wyatt Gooden, do you hear me? Well, we'll go back to you, Joe.
Well, it seems like Wyatt might not have his mic quite ready yet. So we have Kyle Potts in here, and I believe Richard is going to talk to him.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Kyle Potts, a pretty frantic race on this Daytona Oval. How did it go for you early on?
Man, hectic, for sure. At first, I was just trying to feel out everything. I just wanted to follow through. You know, maybe a couple guys would knock each other out, but had a little dive bomb there and on, was it 3 or 4, and lost a couple spots. So I was a little flustered there, but kept my head in. Had a couple little bumps and scrapes, but not too bad. But man, the last part of that race, that was close. I almost spun it a couple times, but I just really concentrated on getting out of the bus stop clean, and it worked out for me. So glad to be on the podium, for sure.
Well, I tell you what, there were battles everywhere that we had cameras. In fact, we didn't even have enough cameras for all the battles that were going on. But from where I sat watching you, Kyle, it was pretty much a steady race for you. You got a little bit of a lucky break there when, I forget who it was chasing you towards the end of the race. Had a big bobble coming onto the oval, and that gave you just enough to seal the deal in third place.
Yeah, that gave me a big breather there. That draft is pretty gnarly around here. I was really rooting for my boy Matthew down there. He caught him up pretty good, but it just wasn't enough. But I got to give a shout out to Scott this week. He does a lot for the league. Really great that he can come out every weekend too. So tough race for him, but hey, that's how it goes.
Well, we congratulate you on a podium spot there. Third place in this company is no mean feat. So congratulations, and thanks for talking to us.
Hey, thank you guys very much. Have a good night.
Back to you, Joe.
We also have Matthew Thill, and Matthew finished 5th today. At 8th to 5th, not bad. At least you made some positions up, and top 5 is no mean feat in this company.
Yeah, you're always excited about a great top 5, and it was a tough race. It was a little slick out there, and I think tire management was extremely important. My strategy was to keep equal amount of tires underneath me for the entire race, so I dove in about halfway throughout the entire race to get some new rubber, and turned out to be okay. I wanted to congratulate Kyle Potts on a great drive. I mean, finishing the podium after a little bit of chaos early in the race was a great drive for him. A little bit of contact all throughout the field from what I saw, but try to avoid some landmines and make it a clean finish. So top 5 is great.
You were all by yourself towards the end there, although you were trying to run down João. Did you think you had enough for him? It looks like it was only about a second at the line. And what did you think about the drafting and how it played out in this race?
You know, the drafting was extremely beneficial in the beginning when everybody was tight. Right after the start, there were quite a bit of drafting partners going on, but as your tires wore out, you had to be very, very smooth in the infield in order to gain a tenth or 2/10. Right about the 1.6 second mark was where the draft started to pick up, and you can really feel that toe. So later in the race, when the tires are going off, it's very, very difficult to gain that extra tenth just so you can pick up the draft. But draft was extremely important, especially in that high banking.
Well, thanks for coming and talking to us, and again, congratulations on a top 5.
Thanks a lot, guys.
We are going to try Wyatt one more time. Bill, take it away.
One more shot. Wyatt Gooden, you got a copy? One more time? That's too bad. I was going to tell Wyatt he won the $1,000 Global Sim Racing Channel Best Driver Award, but driver must be present to win. So we'll just put that one back into the pot. Back to you, Joe.
That comes out of your wallet, right, Bill?
Not today.
We have Frank Phillips with us, and Frank finished 8th after qualifying 6th, so a few positions lost. But Frank, we saw quite a bit of you battling it out there. Was it as fun down on the track as it looked from up in our perspective?
Yeah, let's just say I'm sweating a little bit right now. It was really, really intense.
It looked intense. You guys were swapping positions back and forth. Was there at any time where you guys got on the radio and said, let's try and work together and run down the next group up?
Yeah, I was talking with Zeidler a little bit, and we were communicating, trying to get ahead of the people in front of us, but Matthew was kind of pulling away a little bit. It was a little difficult because I had some contact, and it was a little hard to catch up after that.
Yeah, it seemed like any sort of damage really set people at a disadvantage. Are you happy with 8th, or were you hoping for more today?
Well, I was hoping for a podium.
So high aspirations. Well, unfortunately, sad and commiserations that it didn't happen for you today. Are you looking forward to next week's, where we head to, let's see, where are we going next week? We're Interlagos, it looks like, actually. Are you looking forward to that track?
Yes, I am. It's one of my favorite tracks. I love it.
Awesome stuff. Well, we look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, since we couldn't get Wyatt, we do have John Kelly. And Bill, I think you're going to be able to finally get an interview today.
I'm a little gun shy. John Kelly, you got me? Oh, come on. All right, I'm done. Let's wrap this thing up. Let me tell you, I was going to ask John about a great start from the pit to the 12th place run, but it's not here.
Oh, well. Oh, do we have Wyatt back potentially? Oh, I saw him talk.
Oh, you guys are teasing me now. Wyatt Gooden, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. I just realized I didn't have sound.
Well, that's okay, because if you were, the next up was my wife for interview, so I'm glad you're here. Congratulations on your win, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Let's ask something else. You are the Wyatt Gooden with real-world on-track experience. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip this question for you that you probably get 1,000 times. I want to know how your real-world on-track experience makes you a better sim racer, if at all.
Well,
See, I fooled you, didn't I?
that's a good question. I mean, there's definitely things that it helps with. I think real world racing, for sure, you can race a lot closer to people. You have to be more aggressive in real racing, kind of contrary to what people believe on iRacing. But you can get away with more because you're not dealing with netcode. And I think that definitely helps. You can learn racecraft and things like that because you're running a lot closer to people, and you got to be more aware of the cars around you. But I'd say, more so it correlates between both, like sim and real together, not necessarily one learning from the other.
Do the dollar signs and the I don't get to interview many guys who have real track time. Do the dollar signs of crashing a car come into play when you're racing? Does that actually, or even let's go one step farther. I don't know if I even want to go this way. Does injury come into your mind when you're racing?
Yeah, to an extent. I'd say when I was oval racing more so for sure, but yeah, I'd say more so money rather than getting hurt for sure. Money. But I think what that helps, like as far as like from real to the sim, is with learning how to drive within the limits. Even if that's at like 99.5%. You have to stay within the limits because you can't afford to crash. So.
Well, you are the not only are you the fastest driver, but you are also the best driver at keeping it between the white. You have the least incident points of anybody in the series.
Yeah, that's for sure something that I adapted quickly when I was racing real cars. I think after my first race, I had a pretty big crash damage bill, so I had to learn pretty quick.
Well, man, congratulations again. Thanks for talking to us, and we hope to see you next.
Hey, thanks. That was a really fun race, and I also want to say it's unfortunate for Mark too. I know he had a good run going. It's too bad for him. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Hey Wyatt, before you take off, you might want to ask Bill about a $1,000 and some funds for your racing that he might be able to give you.
Now, the boat sailed on that one. Sorry, Wyatt. We'll talk later.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
All right. Well, we are, in fact, going to wrap up today. And first off, we want to thank DIYSim.com for sponsoring this series. Make sure and go check them out. Also, thanks to Scott Power and Matt Thill, the organizers of this league. Also, thank you to the software and hardware that we use, iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Also, thanks to the team today, Kevin, Richard, and Bill. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Thanks go out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing channel. A special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. As we mentioned earlier, our next race in the VSRA series is Interlagos. That'll be Sunday, June 29th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 1 week from today. Our next broadcast, however, will be the CJ Wilson MX-5 shootout. That'll be at Watkins Glen, Monday, June 23rd, 11:45 p.m. UTC. And that will be tomorrow night, so don't miss that. ASRS is next up with Kentucky. That'll be Wednesday, June 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then we go to Daytona with the iSuper Speedway Series, Friday, June 27th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then, of course, the final round for the Enduro Pro Series is at Road Atlanta, Saturday, July 5th at 2:45 p.m. UTC. And of course, don't forget the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series goes to Watkins Glen, Saturday, July 12th at 10:30 UTC. And then finally, the Northwest Majors goes to Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. That'll be Sunday, July 20th at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim-building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYSim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.